Hello, hello. Welcome to the live. If you're just joining, let me know where you're coming from. Let me know what your rising sign is. My name is Anastasia. I am a traditional Western astrologer. I specialize in doing readings. I teach classes. If you keep coming by, please show your support by leaving a like, a comment, the usual things. So today's live is designed to do your chart readings, to answer your questions. Let me see. I am going to pin a comment so that you know you have a little bit more information. So today we're talking. I'm doing readings for you guys, answering your questions. Questions can involve pretty much anything. You can talk about your natal chart, the positives, the challenges of your chart, the questions you have about relationships, money, career, future. I will wait a few minutes for things to sort of get going here. A lot of times it takes a little bit of time for the live to get started, for people to get notified. If you're just joining, let me know where you're watching from. But it's an interesting period that we are in right now. We are about to enter Gemini season this week. The sun is going to enter Gemini. We've had Mercury, Uranus conjunction yesterday. Hi, Julia. So if you've experienced some breakdowns and breakthroughs in communication, some shakeups in terms of your opinions, ideas of things, it is quite along the screenplay and very much on top of the, very much in accordance to where we are right now. Gemini season is going to bring up a multitude of perspectives and will encourage you to hold space for different opinions, which could be challenging at times. Julia is asking, can I be added? Yes, Julia, I literally just started, so you can jump on the list and be first. Hi, Monica. So the way this works is I am answering your questions. You can ask me anything about your natal chart, about the transits coming up, your relationships, your career, money, things like that. The way to get on my list, I ask for a donation. Suggested amount is $35. You can use the link in the description or link in the pinned comment to send the donation. Once you do, I will need your date, time, place of birth, and your question. I do ask that you prioritize one question at a time, so I get to do a few of these readings. If you ever want a full-size reading, you want to talk to me, you want to sort of ask a bunch of questions, you can book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I would also need to know whether you want your chart to be kept private or if it's okay to share it on the screen, so we are looking at the same thing. If you want your chart information to be kept private, please email me at anastasia.does.astrology@gmail.com, and you can specify like upfront in the email, just tell me that you'd like your information to be private. Hi, Bhavana. How are you? I saw that I got some messages from you, but I haven't had a chance to get to them yet. So I see, let me see, how are we doing? Okay, I see Robin, and I see Julia. So Robin and Julia. Robin got her donation a little bit before you, Julia. So if you don't mind, you'll be second, which I'm sure as a Libra rising, you are going to be patient, hopefully. Well, I'm sure you are. Thank you so much, ladies, for sending your donations. I am just going to get the list started. Robin, I don't know why Robin is making me, the name is kind of taking a second for me to get used to. I like this name. It's there's a bird, right? Robin is a bird. Okay, Julia and Robin. How are you doing? Are you guys feeling the Mercury-Uranus conjunction in terms of like breakdowns, breakthroughs, technical glitches? I had an accident yesterday. Somebody accidentally sent me $1,000 by mistake, and they were like, send it back. And I'm like, I can't send it back to you, but first I need the money to actually like process and land in my bank account. So there's been a lot of like, is this a real thing? Is this like a scam? So I've been being quite sort of careful with that, and there's definitely been some conversation difficulties that I've been dealing with. So how are you feeling? Okay, Julia got the donation. Bhavana says, no worries, take your time. Julia says, no worries, I'm patient. J3 LA Soul, Libra Rising, just watching. Hi. Julia says, feeling it. Yeah, the vibes are real. So Robin, are you here? One other note, just please keep refreshing the live, especially if you get a commercial, because every time there's a commercial, I think you pick up where the commercial began. And so there may be a slight delay. So it's best to sort of keep refreshing it after the commercial so you're staying on top of the things. Bhavana says, oh, wow, yesterday I had a good day and amount was blocked for weeks and it got unblocked. Okay, that's awesome. Hi, Robin. Do you want your information private, or is it okay to share your chart? I see that you put it in the Venmo, so I'm going to share. I'm going to pull up your chart rather. Okay. Let me see. Okay. You're saying I can share. Thank you very much. So right now we have Robin and Julia on the list. So if you wanted to ask your question, you can join the lovely ladies and be on my list as well. Okay. So okay, so Robin's question was, how do I most wisely express my truth after age 36? And what advantages and pitfalls do I have in this? That is a good question. Okay, so I'm going to share your chart in a second. Is there a specific reason, Robin, why you're asking after age 36? Because are you 36 right now? That's probably why. That's a silly question. I didn't do the math in my head correctly. Okay, so let me just read this again. How do I most wisely express my truth? And what advantages and pitfalls do I have in this? That is an interesting question. If you're saying it's just to say that I've been through a lot of healing and therapy and self-work already, hopefully more mature. So 36 is a significant year in astrology because 36 represents the new beginning of a circle. You are in the first house when you're born and you're just a baby before you turn 1. So at 0, right? You come back to the first house at 12. You come back here at 24 because there's only 12 houses. So every 12 years you're back here. And so 36 is another deeply significant and really important year for personal development. And it's, it's sort of interesting that you're talking about speaking your truth. So it could be a year in which you are asking a lot of these questions about who am I? And perhaps maybe communicating about who you are. And the year will offer a decent amount of opportunities for it. We're going to have Venus spending a while between Scorpio and Libra, starting in, I believe, as early as September. She goes retrograde, so she enters Scorpio, I think, in September. Then she retrogrades. She returns into Libra briefly at the end of the year. But there will be a lot of sort of September, October, November. There will be a lot of focus on self and like looking at yourself and sort of examining. You're saying you've done a lot of self-work and healing, so hopefully it's just a sign of potentially connecting with all the healing you have done. But there will be some tests, I think, around October November timeline, because it's not just Venus. Let me actually show you. I think it's more interesting to look at it in terms of actual timing of things. So I wonder if I can animate it and it will follow, maybe not. Just a second. Okay. So a transit chart. Okay. So this is just to look at the upcoming retrograde period. So Venus enters Scorpio around September 10th, 11th. She retrogrades, begins her retrograde on October 13th, I believe. And then she travels backwards from Scorpio into Libra. So it's interesting. It's really an interesting question. I feel like it's speaking your truth. So you're born with Pluto and Venus very close to the ascendant. Pluto is a sign of a lifetime full of transformations, a lifetime that's maybe more than other people's has. Like when you have Pluto on the ascendant, you're likely to be someone who goes through death and rebirth multiple times in your life. And you are more familiar with the darkness of your own soul, and you're likely someone who's deeply intuitive. And I think your moon in Sagittarius in the second house feels like there's even potential to make money through nurturing other people and through sharing uplifting philosophical insights. It's sort of interesting that you have this Jupiter Saturn dynamic. Saturn is in your third house. So Saturn, Uranus, Neptune as three planets in the third house are interesting because Saturn represents challenges, especially younger in life. And when it's in the third house, it can block communication somehow, or it can, there could be some type of like resistance. Sometimes when you have Saturn in the third, you may be someone who like spends a lot of time on your own, and maybe, for whatever reason. Sometimes it's because you're an only child and you grow up spending a lot of time on your own. Sometimes it's because you're the oldest child and you have to take care of the younger siblings potentially. Saturn in the third, I have Saturn in the third, so I'm also talking about like personal experience in that regard. Saturn in the third could also cause one to be very hesitant about like new ideas, or it's slow on the uptake sometimes. And then Neptune will give you this like spiritual quality, dreamy quality, and Uranus will at times bring flashes and bursts of insight. So you have this interesting cluster of planets in the third house, all in opposition to Jupiter and Chiron in the ninth. Saturn in the third also oftentimes makes one a very powerful diplomat, which I think I see with your Libra placements as well, and can encourage you to really dig deeply. It's like the type of, whatever you're really interested in, I think there is this potential to like go all in and really try to understand it and take time. It's like 10,000 hours to perfect things. So I feel like one of the ways you can express your truth, right, is like by taking time to understand yourself. By also accepting that it maybe takes like it might take you more time to get comfortable, or maybe like you can be more cautious with opening up to people. But this could also be an interesting, like Saturn in the third can also encourage you to speak your truth via writing or via taking up a business, and Jupiter in the ninth has this teacher archetype energy. You also have a really empowered Mercury ruling your house of community and networks and social media. Have you ever thought about starting a YouTube channel? um, there's a lot, like even having your sun as the planet of identity and your Mars as your chart ruler in the 12th house, all of that can confuse the sense of self. It can bring up some anger that is difficult to express, um, some issues with the father that maybe haven't been fully processed, or the challenges that have affected you. But at the same time, um, Mars and Libra would want to fight for fairness and justice. It can bring you a lot of insights and solitude. So I think, advantages here could be very much like spending time in solitude, even though it's like Libra placement. So maybe you're in solitude, but you're like at a library. So there's a lot of people around you, or you're with your partner, but they're in the other room. So I think taking time, working in solitude, like doing yoga, meditation, practices like that, all of that could be helpful. You're saying, yes, starting a YouTube channel and a self-owned business are part of my soon plans. And it would work really well for you, I think, with Saturn is in its home sign in Capricorn. So even though it's a sign of slow and steady, it's a sign of taking your time and not rushing into things. Because it's in its home sign, it can be a sign that you're like slowly and steadily will grow. And then Neptune. Neptune feels like sensitive communication, spiritual communication, imaginative communication. Uranus would be this need to sometimes break away from the common patterns, and maybe it can also give you a chance. Like I think it's an interesting combination of like Uranus and Saturn together, because Saturn can restrict the flow of words because there's too much thinking, like a politician. How would people perceive what you're saying? But then Uranus can be groundbreaking and eye-opening. And so I think it's about like learning to express groundbreaking ideas in a steady Saturnian fashion. And Jupiter Chiron combination in the ninth can suggest perhaps some self-doubt in regards to how much you know and how ready you are to teach or inspire people. But it's very much you get that experience by practicing, you get it by doing. And Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, and it can suggest that you will have, I think as long as you are nurturing yourself and you're communicating with others in a nurturing way, there could be kind of more truthful and honest communication. But starting with yourself, starting with taking care of yourself, which being 36 and being in that first house year is quite appropriate. Think back also on what was 24 like for you, and were you in a similar period? Maybe in a very different way, maybe in a similar way, but there could be some parallels between 36 and 24. Maybe you're looking at 24 and thinking that you've grown a lot and you changed a lot, and you're sort of on a different level right now. Another advice I would say, another sort of, you asked for pitfalls, right? Like pitfalls would be avoiding conflict with Mars and Libra and feeling like it's better to not say things. Sometimes it's better to address things head on and like connect with the anger that you're feeling, or the feelings that you're maybe you may have a tendency to suppress, because Libra is very much about other people and balance and getting along with others. So I think watch out that this sort of tendency to please everyone doesn't become a self-defeating pattern. Because again, you have a T-square in your chart between Capricorn, Libra, and Cancer, and what's missing is Aries. And Aries being the missing piece could be a sign that the more direct you are, the more clear about who you are, like clear about yourself you are, the more likely all of these things will improve. So learn, I don't know, trust, start saying I am, I want, and see how the world might change in the process. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions. If you're joining us and you'd like a reading, you can ask me anything about a natal chart, about transits coming up, energies coming up. You can join my list by sending a donation. Suggested amount is $35. There's a link in the description. There's also a link in the comments. It's pinned. Once you send the donation, I will need your date, time, place of birth, and your question. Ideally, one question, because these are smaller readings. For personal face-to-face conversation, where we can have a back and forward, we can dig really deeply into your chart and understand why you're here, what's your karmic purpose, and things like that. Visit Anastasia.astrology.com. Okay, Julia, I see your information. Thank you. So let me add it, and you're saying it's okay to share. Is POI person of interest? Okay, I'm going to look at transits for you because you're asking about the next couple of months. So we're in May now, June, July, let's say. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to look at the transits to see what is jumping at me. I'm actually going to look, I think I'm going to look a little bit further, just because some of the transits might be coming up a few times. Okay, you're saying yes, POI, person of interest. And you're welcome, Robin. I hope this was helpful. I feel like I've seen a bunch of things. So there's definitely a lot to unpack in your chart. So if you wanted to keep talking, booking a personal reading would be a good option. Okay, so Julia, thank you for sharing that you are a Virgo Sun, Aries Moon, Libra Rising. That is indeed what I am seeing. So let me ask you, how has Saturn in the 7th house been? Saturn went in here in February, this February 13th, and it pressure tests, right? It comes in and it knocks on the walls, it checks the foundations, makes sure that everything is well and sturdy and reliable. Sometimes it pressure tests the life of the partner to show you where maybe, like to show you what relationship is like when things are not perfect. So there could be this sort of sense of an inspection. At the same time, Saturn can also an increased desire for commitment and an increased desire, like, and not an increase. I feel like that's a verb with an N. It can increase desire for commitment. It can increase seriousness in a relationship and can bring up this sort of all of these, we need to have a conversation. It's interesting because you're going through a Neptune square right now. So Neptune is in the house of relationships. You're born with Neptune in the fourth house of home, family. Neptune square is one of the astrological, like, midlife crisis type of transits. It brings up questions around the dreams. And with Neptune, you're born with Neptune in the fourth, there may be certain idealism around family or desire for things to be a certain way in regards to family. There can also be, with Neptune and Capricorn, a certain focus on long-term stability, like dreams of practical realities that you may possess. And when Neptune comes into a square with your natal Neptune, there may be some kind of sense that the real life is not quite reflecting your dreams. And because this is showing up in the houses of, like, home, family, foundations, and the house of relationships, it can highlight sort of this disconnect between the way things are and the way you'd like them to be. You're saying Saturn did pressure tests. We have withstood some things, inspections, and talked more, bringing us together. That is really good, because things that survive, relationships that survive Saturn transits, definitely are, it's like you got to survive Saturn in the seventh, and you got to survive all the Venus retrogrades in order to be like, this relationship is actually going to last. But it's good if you, I think having honest conversations is really important. Okay, you're saying, yes, I had to reevaluate my dreams. I'm 40 this year. I know kids or husband, only family and friends. How long have you been with the person of interest? And are you, I guess, like, are you guys talking about taking that step together? 3 years. Is he interested in kids and marriage in the future? So just a question of time. So, and also I wonder, like, so you're saying it tested the relationship. Is it pressure testing his life? Do you feel like he maybe is going through some uncertain times right now? And you said he's a Virgo rising, right? So for him, the Saturn is transiting through the 8th house of debts and loans and shared finances. So has he been, like, is he in a place where he's trying to pay off debts or any sort of obligations that feel heavy? You're saying, I think he's interested, but financially we're not ready. Yep. Isn't there always some kind of like something that is standing in the way? So let's see. So we have, there's kind of like a mix. There's some positive transits that are coming up and some others that may continue to challenge things and pressure test things. Like Saturn is here for a while. Saturn is in your 7th house for years. I'm gonna reshare the screen. You're saying he's got a new job and traveling a lot for it. What does he do? Is he in real estate? Which I don't know if you travel a lot for a real estate job, but okay. So the next couple of months. So Saturn is here. It's not going to oppose your Venus yet. It is going to square your Mars a few times. And so the first square to your Mars is on June 1st. And Mars rules your house of personal finances and values, and it rules your house of marriage and relationships. And so as Saturn approaches the square with Mars, there may be a sense that your desire to go is somehow slowed down, right? So Mars in the 4th might suggest that you have a desire to own real estate, desire to have a family, have children, some type of like sort of strategic, maybe a little bit traditional approach to what family should look like or what you would desire it to be. It also represents, as mentioned, personal finances, and it represents partner. And so as Saturn comes to square your Mars, it can bring up, it can definitely bring up a sense that you're at a standstill, and it's not clear how to proceed, and it's usually best not to make any rash decisions, and it would be best to like take it slow and steady. I wonder if the Saturn square will affect your partner as well, because Saturn squares Mars, and Mars rules the partner in your chart, so it could also be a sign that maybe something is happening in their life that is the reason why you're standing still. And so you even said that, like, he's interested, but financially you feel like you're not ready. He's an electrical engineer. Okay. Very, I guess, Mars in Capricorn in the fourth house being like the home and the property and real estate. So he doesn't work in real estate, but he works with like the foundational things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something to be aware of. It doesn't have to be that like, I just think right now you're more in this period and like a little bit in a holding pattern potentially, and it can feel frustrating because you would rather move in sort of like, you have a very strategic Mars, right? You're likely someone who can do your work in, like, instead of 8 hours, you can do your work in 4 hours. You know how to cut corners. You know how to work with the system. You're like diligent, hardworking. You have a plan. You want to stick to that plan. And so Saturn comes in, and it either blocks that plan or it forces you to act way more rapidly than you would like. Saturn in the 7th can also bring some type of like rapid development in the partner's life. Like, he tells you, okay, my job is moving me to another state, and suddenly you have to make a decision. But I kind of see this as more obstacles, delays, things like that. And so that comes back. You have one on June 1st, it comes back on September 21st, and then it comes back on February 21st, 2027. Amidst it all, there's some good news. It's not all challenging. Jupiter is going to be conjoining your midheaven on June 5th. And let me just think for a second. So you're turning 40, which means you're 39 now. So 36, 37, 38, 39. And your Saturn ruled this year, and Saturn is in Aries. So that gives Saturn a lot of power while you are 39 and while you're 40, because both of these years are going to be ruled by Saturn. So just be ready to play the long game, I think. But in good news, in more positive news, we have Venus, your chart ruler, Venus also actually going to have to deal with Saturn. So Venus is in your 10th house between May 18th and June 13th. And she's going to have to go through square to Neptune, square to Saturn. So there's also the sort of sense that Venus wants to help out, but she has to deal with some uncertainty, and she has to deal with some obstacles or challenges. June, especially after, I think, some of this sort of Saturn Mars energy begins to clear up a little bit. Like, I think around June 8th, 9th, Venus and Jupiter will be conjoining right next to your midheaven. So this could be about home, family, foundations, because it's happening in your 10th house and it's exactly opposite your 4th house. But it could also just be something good in your professional life. Has Jupiter brought any positive developments in your career lately? Have you noticed? And just to people who are watching, if you'd like to get a reading, my list is open after Julia. The way to get one, I ask for a donation. Suggested amount is $35. You can send it via the links in the description or in the pinned comment. Once you do, I will need your date, time, place of birth, and your question. And the question could be pretty much whatever your heart desires. Yeah, so Julia, I wonder if Jupiter brought sort of career developments, which is not what we're looking at, but still curious. And so your not fiance, your partner is, you said, a Virgo rising. Let me just think. Yeah, because he's got South Node in his first house right now, and North Node in his seventh house. So I think he's both. It kind of makes sense that you're saying that he's interested in long term, but he's going through some sort of sense of personal rebirth with that South Node in the first house. I'd have to look more in terms of like what's happening with the composite chart. But for that, I'd recommend doing a relationship reading. But just overall, I think, yeah, maybe I'm putting the words in the universe. It's gonna wait, is he or is he not? Are you guys like engaged, or are you just not yet? Um, yeah, and like South Node in the first house could be tricky. It could be tricky on health. It could be tricky in terms of understanding oneself. North Node in the seventh, there's going to be an eclipse in his seventh house of relationships in August. So that could be the time when maybe you get a little bit of clarity, when maybe he decides to move the relationship forward. Like that could be an interesting period for the relationship. Yeah, and I think mid-June, between like at least there is some positive energy in terms of communication, I think, around that time. You're saying not engaged yet, but you're saying are you saying I want it in the future? Yeah, so we talked about Saturn, we talked about Neptune. There's also Pluto square. And Pluto in the fifth house is a 20-year period of also figuring out how to be authentically yourself in terms of pleasure and joy and love and sex. And it's squaring your natal Pluto, which could represent that maybe there is some sort of need to be more, I don't know, discover what true love means, or what true pleasure means, or just sort of being more open-minded. It can encourage you to, and like notice where you may be being, like, if we're thinking of like fifth house as love, sometimes Pluto in the fifth can increase, maybe quietly, maybe privately, can increase some kind of like obsession or worry or just or jealousy or control issues. It can quietly bring those up and then encourage you to address them and to release them. You're saying hope so, we want it in the future. Oh, you said we want it in the future. Yeah. So as far as like to your question, right, like what's happening in the next couple of months, I do think it looks a little bit slow right now, just purely because of that Saturn squaring your Mars, Venus in May. Yeah, Venus throughout May having to square Neptune, having to square Saturn. There's a little bit of uncertainty, maybe around June 8th, 9th. It could just be like a good period, a good few days professionally, but could also be pretty nice romantically. Mars, as the ruler of the partner, is hanging out in the eighth house. It could be a sign of having to discuss certain things in terms of fairness, in terms of sharing money, resources, energy, what you find fair, what he finds fair. It can also be a sign because like Mars rules the house of relationships, and it's the ruler of the partner. And when Mars is in the eighth house, it could be more symbolic again to like a partner being in this realm of being focused on like money and career and trying to figure that out. He's sort of in this, in this dark house, private place, doing his own thing. So maybe that's another sign of things being a little bit slower. And then even, yeah, I mean, I think Saturn in the seventh house is definitely able to also make you guys commit to a relationship. And I think the eclipse happening in his seventh house in August is also going to be significant. What's happening in your seventh house? Okay, you're saying we've been getting to that point of what is love. So August, you're going to have South Node conjoin your Sun in late July. That is interesting. That could be like symbolic of you having to let something go. What was happening in your life back in 2006, 2007? You're saying he's focused on career 100%, but I wish he'd balance me too. Yeah, maybe that's what the conversation, maybe that's one of the conversations that you guys should have, right? Like you can be understanding, and you can still express that you'd like, maybe he can't give you like 100% of his attention, but you'd like a certain percentage of his attention. So my list is open if you'd like to get a reading about your love life, about your career, money, energy that's coming up for you. I ask for a donation. Suggested amount is $35. You can send it to me via the link in the description or link in the pinned comment, and share your chart information and your question. Julia, let me know if you have any follow-up questions. You're saying 2006, 2007, I was going to school and dating my future ex-husband. When did you get married? So 2006, 2007, you would have been like 19, 20? 19, 20, 21. You're saying everything you said was accurate. I just wanted to know if he would balance me in there with focusing on work. I think so, but you may have to wait until like August, maybe. Not that it's just like he's not going to be able to balance you, but I do think maybe it will take him some time to fully figure it out. But eventually he has the potential. I think the North Node and another eclipse in his seventh house is very much significant of the fact that a lot of his attention is on your relationship. Yeah, I it's kind of interesting to see what your synastry looks like, and like what kind of relationship energy is speaking, because it's hard to talk about him without looking at his chart very closely. I see a donation from Nicole. Thank you, Nicole. So if you are interested to get on the list right now, the list has Nicole on it, and you can be next in line. Julia, let me know if you have any follow-up questions. But yeah, I think being patient, I think communicating honestly, Saturn and Neptune in the seventh can be tricky. And trust me, as a Libra rising, I'm feeling it very much right now. So you're not alone. So the best thing to do with Saturn and Neptune in the seventh is just being so clear about like, this is what I expect of you. What do you expect of me? Do I agree? Do you agree? And kind of trying to come to an agreement. You're saying, yes, I'm patient for him to balance. You're 100% accurate, though. Thank you, Anastasia. As always, thank you. You're amazing. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate the hype, the encouragement. Okay, so Nicole is on the list. Are you with us? Are you watching, Nicole? And if you're just joining and you get shown a commercial, please refresh so that you are watching me in real time. For those who want to get on the list, I keep saying it. I ask for a donation. Suggested amount is $35. Once you send it, I will need your date, time, place of birth, your question. And if you want your information to be kept private, please tell me specifically. In that case, you can email me your info at Anastasia.astrology@gmail.com and specify that please keep my information private. Nicole, I assume that's you. You're saying, yes, I sent through a note as well. Can you refer to it? I'm here. The commercial passed. Okay. Yeah. If you're seeing a commercial, just refresh right after it. And okay, I can keep your information private for sure. Do you mind just sharing your sun, moon, and rising so I can double check that I pull the chart correctly? Once I do. Oh, and I see that you asked me to refer to you as Paulina. So forgive me for not seeing that yet. I do see it now. Okay. And so you mentioned that you are a Virgo rising and you're saying interested in learning more about career and relationships now until the November lunar cycles, open to anything else that stands out. Thank you. Okay. So normally I do ask that you prioritize one question. So if you'd like me to start with something more specifically, I would appreciate that. And I can also just show the circle of your chart without sharing your information, or would you like me to just keep everything private? Okay, you're saying relationships are top of mind. S. Ruthie Screamall saying Scorpio rising. Hello, hello. I am doing readings. My list currently has one person on it. If you'd like to join us and ask your question, please send the donation. Suggested amount is $35. There are links in the description, links in the pinned comment that I would really appreciate if you use. Once you send the donation, I would need your date, time, place of birth, your question, and whether you want me to keep your information private. Okay, you're saying that's fine, so I can show the screen, right? Sort of the circle without the information. Just double checking because sometimes I don't know what exactly you're saying. That's fine. Okay, you're saying yep. Okay, so let me hide your info and just show your chart. Okay, so does this look correct? Scorpio, Sun, Aquarius, Moon, Virgo, rising. Okay, you're saying it does look good. Awesome. Okay, I also just got a donation from Stephanie, so I'm going to add Stephanie to the list. So right now we have Paulina and Stephanie. Okay, So, just a refresh. You are saying interested in learning more about career relationship now until the November lunar cycles. Open to anything else that stands out. Okay. So what are we seeing in terms of relationships? So you're a Virgo rising, which means you've been having a series of eclipses between your first house of self and identity and your seventh house of relationships, partnerships, contracts, and agreements. First house eclipse suggests the time of rebirth. There could have been a need to shed a lot. You maybe have been literally feeling like you're getting rid of a lot of clothes, old makeup, skincare. There could have been maybe even some sort of health matters, cleanses, diets, spiritual focus that you've been on. And since we're, like you mentioned, career, right, this could also very much been affecting the sense of like wanting to shed and change who you are professionally. There could have been a stronger focus on like spiritual things. And Uranus in the 10th house for the next 7 years is also a sign of professional transformations and sort of a desire to be more independent in that regard. All the while, North Node in the relationship sector has been bringing up romantic developments. So what was that like for you? How has that been, rather? The first eclipse here would have been September 2024. Then we had one in September 2025. And then we have one more in August this year. And this could have been, the eclipses can eclipse someone out of your life. They can bring an ending. You've also had Saturn here since March 2023 until February 2026, pretty much. And Saturn could have brought up a lot of these questions around like karmic agreements, which relationships feel fulfilling versus which ones do not. Maybe encourage you to clarify what kind of relationship you seek, what kind of partnership you seek. Saturn is very much like, get serious about this. And then eclipses picked up where Saturn left off and encouraged you to either date someone new or explore commitment in a relationship. There could have been a lot of sort of serious focus on what the future holds. But you are still, this began in September 2024 and continues up until August 2026. You are very much in this very big, major sort of portal time for self and for relationships. And you only get eclipses in these houses once in 9 years. And so it's rare, right? It's dramatic, it's big, it's bold, it's significant. And so if you've experienced someone leaving your life around the time of the eclipse, then somebody new can enter around the time of the eclipse in August. If you've started dating someone, then the eclipse in August could be about commitment, engagement, moving in together, wedding, a lot of different things. You do have a very strong ruler of your house of relationships, but it is in a square to Saturn. You're saying, I'm in a long-term relationship of almost 4 years. We have our issues and worry we won't be able to bypass the final eclipse. Truly want it to work. So that's interesting. So what has been happening in other eclipses? Like what has happened in this relationship in September 2024 and September 2025? The ruler of your relationship house is a strong Jupiter. And so I think it more than able to send you a very like spiritual partner, optimistic partner. Maybe it's somebody from your hometown. Maybe it's somebody who shares similar values to your family. Maybe it's even somebody you meet through like friends of your family. Or maybe it's someone who works in real estate or property management or electrical engineering, as we've seen with Julia's example of the ruler of the seventh being in the fourth, like someone who works whose work might involve like family business, homes, real estate, their hometown, even being like a politician in their hometown. It's like home is important for them. Having Saturn in the seventh, you're saying just tensions, nothing specific. He's a friend of a friend. LOL. Okay. So friend of a friend, not quite friend of family, but maybe similar upbringing. some kind of, similar values. So Saturn in the seventh generally is something that you really need to be aware of, I think, because Saturn in the seventh is often perceived as a projection. Like there may be, Saturn in the seventh makes you really serious about relationships. You take things, seriously. You look at the responsibility. You're saying he's ruled by Saturn, however, so not easy with someone with a lot of Pluto water. As in you have a lot of Pluto and water, right? With your Sun, Venus, Pluto, Saturn. Yeah, that is a lot of water. Lauren, I see you. Wait, let me see. So Lauren, I see Ellen. So Stephanie and Ellen? Yes, Ellen are on my list. So it's Paulina, Stephanie, and Ellen. Let me just a second. Thank you everyone for sending your donations. I really, really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. If you ever want to book a full-size reading, find me at anastasiadoesastrology.com. Okay, sorry, Paulina, back to you. So yes, Saturn, Saturn in the seventh. You are someone who takes things seriously. You're not likely someone who just like jumps into things. Saturn in the seventh is always people like, your chart is not necessarily a chart of someone who like meets a person and gets married to them a month later, right? You would be like, what are those crazy people doing, right? Maybe. You do have some impulsive, fiery energy in your chart, but you also have Venus. You also have Venus, Pluto, which needs to be acknowledged. But with Saturn in the seventh, where I'm taking this is you need to be really aware of your own reservations when it comes to commitment and relationships, because Saturn in the seventh comes up times and times again as, why am I attracting these stern people? Why are they maybe like, there could be this sort of sense that like, why am I meeting people that keep teaching me lessons? Why is this not working out? And like, there may be a very strong tendency to project. And I'm not saying that, the difficulties in relationship are purely because you have challenges in your chart, but there is very strong tendency with Saturn in the seventh is to see Saturn as them. It's your Saturn, but it sits in the house of relationships, and you're like things are complicated, relationships are complicated, right? Like add Venus and Scorpio into the mix, there could be some trust issues. I would really recommend some of my astrological candles for you if you're interested in using astrology in like a more spiritual way. Like I have Venus in her fall in Virgo, and I use Venus in Libra candles. I actually have like a ritual every Friday. So I would really recommend that. Even if you don't go for a candle, you can like read a prayer to Venus, ask her what you want romantically. You can dress up in green. You can like buy yourself flowers or treat yourself with love, and that could be sort of a way to boost relationships, because Venus is always connected to relationships. Like give yourself the trust and love that you seek. And let me see. Yeah, and so with Saturn, be very clear with yourself in terms of like how you may be like what concerns you have, how you're maybe protecting yourself, how you're maybe choosing partners that reflect your fears or your reservations. And I think here it's just a sign that like you really need to be clear about who you are and what you want, and then I think the relationships are likely to improve. And there's good potential for relationships within the next sort of the end of this year, right? Like you mentioned, until November. Yes, we're going to have Venus retrograde. She's going to be retrograding in Scorpio in your sign. So that could be the time when maybe your relationship, like you'll have to go to the other side together and then come out and get closer or get more honest with each other. So that could be a trying time. But if you, I think again, if you're sort of clear about what you want and then you communicate it, then things can improve significantly. You're asking, do you see the lunar eclipse as a positive or negative one? I appreciate the perspective. So a lot depends on, I'm going to stop sharing your chart for a second so I can look at the transits, because I can't do transits and not show your chart. Somehow my app doesn't really let me do it. So I think a lot depends on how the previous two were. I'm just going to look at what is it hitting in your chart to see more about it. So it happens on August 28th. It happens at about 5 degrees Pisces, like 455 degrees Pisces, 453, anyways, close to 5 degrees Pisces. What does it do? Just seeing if there's any aspects. Jupiter, which is the ruler of your 7th house, is in the 12th, trining your Mars and trining your Jupiter. Mercury is conjoining the Sun. Venus is in Libra. Mars is in Cancer. I think a lot depends. There's also a square to Uranus, so it kind of forms a grand cross in your chart between the Sun and the Moon as part of the eclipse, lunar eclipse, and then Uranus at the top of the chart in the 10th house. Breakthroughs, breakdowns, surprises, sudden revelations. Could be positive, doesn't need to be dramatic. It really could go either way. I think a lot depends on how strong the relationship is, whether you think deep in your heart you can make it work, you can make it through. So that's the first one, how strong the relationship is. It also depends on how you handled previous eclipses. So I would look at like a month before, so August, September, even October 2024, August, September, October 2025, because if you've been dealing with eclipses and you've been handling some obstacles and some difficulties, but you moved through it and you've grown together, it could be maybe some kind of like some type of, eye-opening thing. Uranus does oppose your Mars around this time, or not quite. No, it's not really opposing your Mars, so never mind. But there's I think the Moon sort of forms this grand cross, which could be the time when you find some kind of equilibrium, I think, because the Virgo, Pisces, Sagittarius, and Gemini are all activated, and maybe it's the time when like the answers come. And what I do like is the fact that Venus at the time of eclipse is in Libra, and she is close to your North Node. And your North Node is in Libra, which also suggests that part of your karmic path is relationships, and it's about relationships. You have Mercury North Node conjunction, which is another sign that like communicating about things is what you're learning in this lifetime. You're like learning how to communicate and how to be maybe more like balanced in terms of communication. You're moving away from your South Node in Aries, which is like, I can handle everything. Almost like South Node in Aries could have this propensity to expect danger, expect challenges, and North Node in Libra is encouraging you to believe that things can work out, that partnerships can be fair. So it really makes me think of like, what kind of relationship you have, which is hard to say without like having a face-to-face conversation and analyzing your synastry. So we can keep talking about it, but I think that's what I'm seeing. You're saying if they were challenging prior, do the same things typically reoccur? The one in 2025 was tough. You're saying his 8th house will be activated by Jupiter and Leo at that time and would have left his 7th house Cancer. So he's a Capricorn rising. You're saying we have moved through them, but with the fight for sure. And you're saying he's also going through a perfected 8th house here with Mars. I'm impressed with how much astrology you know, Paulina. That's pretty awesome. You're saying he's also going through a perfected 8th house year with Mars there natally in retrograde, and I'm going through a 7th house perfected year until November. Just context. Thank you. Yeah, I think, as mentioned, like it could be either. It could, like, I wish I could tell you it's going to be all easy. I don't see it being fully easy because of that square to Uranus, but I think it's going to like be liberating in a lot of ways. It could be the time when you get the answers, you figure out how to move the relationship forward. And if relationship ends around this time, there might be this sort of sense that it's sort of for the better, it's for good, because North Node in the 7th will only eclipse the relationship out of your life if it doesn't serve you. But you said you are in the 7th house year, right? You are in the 7th. So you're actually ruled by Jupiter and this year, and Jupiter is in its domicile in your chart. So that's a positive sign in my book. So I hope this was helpful, Paulina. Thank you so much for the donation. So I have Stephanie, Ellen, and Jessica on my list. And if you'd like to participate, please use the links provided to send the donation. Suggested amount is $35. Once you send the donation, I will need your date, time, place of birth, and your question. Please prioritize one question so that we can, these are smaller readings. I'm only doing one question at a time. So one question. If you want your information to be kept private, please email me at anastasia.astrology@gmail.com and let me know your info that way and specify that you want it to be private. Lauren Nicole, I see that you're sending me some jewels. Thank you. I'm not sure how those work. As mentioned, if you'd like a reading, please use the link provided to send the donation. Suggested amount is $35. So if you're interested, that would be sort of my preferred way, just because it's more direct. So Stephanie, are you with us? Hi, Stephanie. I see your information. Is it okay to share it publicly? Lauren Nicole says, I've got no idea, LOL. Well, thank you for sending them. I have yet to figure out, like, I know TikTok used to do it, but I don't know how it works on YouTube and what does it really mean. Okay, so Stephanie says it's okay to share. So as the list that stands right now is Stephanie, Ellen, and Jessica. Giselle says, hi, New York. I'm Leo. Hello, hello. I'm in New York as well. Okay, Stephanie, putting your information in. And you're a fellow 87. Woo woo. Okay, I'm just gonna type. I hope the city you were born in is easy to find. There it is. Look at that. That was easy. Okay. So, Stephanie, I got Cancer Sun, Taurus Moon, Leo Rising. Is that correct? Lauren, thank you so much for the gifts. Okay, Stephanie says, I would like to know anything about love and relationships. In true Libra rising fashion, me being a Libra rising and enjoying talking about relationships, we are having a relationship. Ellen says, I graduated high school in 87. it was a good year. It was a good year for all of us, I guess. You graduated high school. So if you'd like a donation, sorry, if you'd like a reading, please send the donation via the links in the description. There are also links in the pinned comment. I ask for that because it goes sort of, it's more straightforward. It goes, because it's sort of my links. If for some reason you cannot, then I see a donation via YouTube. That's okay. I understand that sometimes the links I provided might not work for some reason, but just for future reference, please use those links if you can, because as mentioned, that's sort of my preferred mode of doing this. Sorry, I feel like Uranus in Gemini or Mercury in Gemini is being a little bit. Okay, so Giselle, I will add you to my list, but please in the future use the link in the description box or in the comment box. Ooh, okay, 1 second. Lauren, it's okay. It's okay. It happens. I appreciate the donation. But just again, please use the links that I provided over YouTube. Okay, and Stephanie, I'll be right with you. I think I'm going to close the list so I can get through everyone. I'm going to close the list. And if you ever want to, for people who want to do a reading like this, sort of a full-size reading in person, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com to book it. I'm also teaching astrology. My next class, Natal Astrology, begins in September. So you can join us and gain insights into your chart. Okay, so Stephanie, you said it's okay to share your chart, and you mentioned that you'd like to know anything about love and relationships. And so could you please confirm that I have your information correctly, that you are a Cancer Sun, Taurus, Moon, Leo rising? Oh, you said yes. Okay, I already see. I see it. Gogo Pogo says Anastasia is one of the best astrologers in Texas. Except I'm not in Texas, but always appreciate Gogo Pogo your lovely compliments. Please never stop giving me those lovely compliments. Okay, so Stephanie, you said that is correct in terms of your time, your big three, and so you're wondering about love and relationships. So you're a Leo rising. Your 7th house is Aquarius. I think Leo risings are always have this sort of star quality ability to make people feel warm, very generous energy, right? Like sort of performer, entertainer, especially with Mars in the 1st house. You're probably someone, I wonder if you like dance or do anything creative, or you have any of those kind of outlets for your interests. And then the 7th house as the partner energy being Aquarius, a lot of times suggests that you may attract sort of the opposite, right? Like we always kind of have in the natal chart opposites in terms of self and relationships. If you're someone who is very sort of attention grabbing, or, I mean, you have 3 planets in the 12th house. There is definitely a private side to you. There's definitely more like introverted, introspective side to you, and very loyal, right? Very sort of like like, yeah, I think there is this sort of persona that you show to the world, and then there is more that people don't get to see or don't get to meet unless they're very, very close to you. um and so in relationships, though, there's this sort of tendency to attract the opposites, right? Like, you're maybe drawn to people who are um very like humanitarian, very, something about them is like unorthodox, different, unique. Saturn rules your seventh house, and there may be this sense of um, age difference may play a crucial role in your relationships. When you're younger, you may date someone older. When you're older, you may date someone younger. The ruler is Saturn in the fifth, which also suggests that the ideal partner for you is not just someone like eccentric or different or community oriented, but also someone creative. And you're saying, yes, I am. So is that the answer to whether you do anything creative, whether you like dance or do anything like, if you could when you answer it, tell me exactly what you're answering to, because I keep talking and then I forget the question that I asked you. Yeah, so Saturn in the fifth is like someone who can also be a teacher, maybe a children's teacher, somebody who teaches at a school that's like science school but teaches kids or something. You're saying I'm a massage therapist. So you're using your Mars in sort of physical way, right? You're having to like be very strong, and you're into spiritual healing. So it's like that is your 12th house, and massage therapist is your first house. And I bet you have to sort of present a certain persona, right, in your business, and sort of have to be like, let me entertain you, or let me be there to sort of help you out. So Pluto is in your seventh house. It has been here on and off since 2023, I believe, 2023, 2024. It's here for 20 years, so it's going to stay until 2043. And Pluto in the seventh is a really interesting time for relationships. Are you in a relationship? You're saying I don't teach as a profession, but I enjoy sharing knowledge. I wonder if that's the type of person that you may be with, right? Someone who is a teacher. I can sort of see that type of person in your life, like as a partner. Yeah. Are you dating anyone right now? Are we talking about like, are you interested in an existing relationship or something coming up? Lauren Nicole says, rough. Are you talking about Pluto in the seventh? You're saying, no, I have been single for over 10 years. Okay. So Pluto in the seventh could be this time when you are, Pluto takes you, it takes you into the underworld. It makes you sit with uncomfortable feelings. It makes you process things, and relationships right now become very, very important for that. So Pluto in the seventh can bring new relationships. It can bring relationships that stir deep feelings within you, that feel very passionate, that feel very intense. It can bring transformative relationships. I think whatever relationships that begin right now are meant to encourage sort of truth and authenticity. And I think like part of the message of Pluto is to open yourself up to unique experiences and unique relationships. And but you kind of, you have to be careful, because like Pluto in the seventh might also suggest a tendency to be like more self-protective, and maybe worried about people hurting you, or sort of, like Pluto is the planet of control. And so sometimes you may meet someone, but you may try to hide a part of yourself, or they may try to present a certain energy because they want you to like them. So it's really important with Pluto transit, and it's like, again, a 20-year long transit, but it's really important here to learn to share power. And then what's coming up is a really, really big relationship transit, and that is in late July. North Node is going to enter Aquarius, And North Node is going to be highlighting for about 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years, your seventh house of relationships. So Jupiter is going to go into your first house. It's been in your 12th, probably like a guardian angel encouraging you to study spirituality and things like that. You're saying, I have been talking to people here and there, but nothing serious. Hugh Janus says, I'm sorry, I'm new here. I'm assuming you're not doing any more today. Yeah, I officially closed my list. If you wanted to stick around a little bit later to see if I like get through people's readings faster and I have time or energy for one more, you can stick around. But officially, I have closed the list, which means I'm gonna get through 5 people. Yeah, 5 people I have on my list. Esmeralda says, oh, sorry, Stephanie. Stephanie says, I have been in a deep spiritual healing journey for the last 7 years. Right. So maybe it started earlier than that with Saturn or Jupiter transiting. Yeah, maybe. I wonder what exactly, when do you know when your spiritual journey began? Like, was there a specific event or was it more like long-term coming? But yeah, North Node. So here it is at the very end of Pisces. North Node and South Node, they move backwards. So it's going to enter your 7th house of relationships in late July. And then we've had a preview of this eclipse period in February when we had an eclipse in Aquarius. Did anything happen in your love life in February? And then what was going on in your life in 2008, 2009? So February 2026, and then 2008, 2009. You're saying, I would say it deepened around my Saturn return. That makes perfect sense, especially with Saturn in Sagittarius, right? You kind of, Saturn in Sag is a fiery Saturn that wants to understand things and find meaning. So eclipses in the 7th are really powerful, very powerful. I continuously see people meet their significant others, get married, get engaged. Your love life, your relationships will change a lot during this period. You're saying 2008, 2009, I was in a toxic relationship with a spiritual parasite. That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. It's not going to be exactly the same. The thing, it's interesting that you were in a relationship and it was toxic and you probably have learned a lot from it. And so when we come back to that same place, when there is a new door opening in terms of relationships, you have all this knowledge that you've been acquiring, all this healing you've been doing for 7 years. And I believe it could be helping you make better choices and better decisions. So I think there is going to be, I can even tell you specific dates when we have the next eclipses in Aquarius. So we had one February 2026. Was there anything romantic appearing on the horizon? Any dates? Were you thinking of starting to date again? Was there some type of desire maybe for a relationship because you're saying you've been single for 10 years? Then we have another one, February 6, 2027, August 17, 2027, January 26, 2028. So there's 3 more eclipses that are coming up, and I think they will be very, very significant in terms of relationships and can absolutely, especially if you're single, they can absolutely bring someone new into your life. And just keep using your Cancer intuition, 12th house intuition, trust your feelings, right? Because a lot of times, I think most of us women, maybe men as well, but I can't speak for men. But I think most of us, when we look back at a relationship that failed, we have a feeling that, yeah, it wasn't meant to last. And like, maybe you closed your eyes on something. Maybe you gave a person multiple chances, but really deeply in your heart, you probably knew that it wasn't the right fit. So trust yourself a little bit more. You're saying I started putting myself out on social media and meeting new people in spiritual dating groups back in February. So you're already on the way. Yeah, so enjoy, and hopefully it's a good one. So I hope this was helpful, Stephanie. Thank you for the donation. So Ellen, you're next. Are you here, Ellen? We have Ellen, Jessica, Giselle, and Lauren. You're welcome, Stephanie. So Ellen or Jessica? And again, if you're watching and you know that you're further on my list, please keep refreshing the live so you're watching it live, because sometimes you get commercials and then there could be some delays. So it's best to keep freshening it up. Ellen, awesome. And Jessica. Okay, so Ellen is first, Jessica is next, then Giselle, and then Lauren. Two Leo risings back to back. Look at that. That's how it rolls sometimes. Okay, Ellen, do I have your information? I see it. I do have it. Is it okay to share it publicly, or would you rather I keep it private? Okay, so Ellen says, please share. Thank you so much. And let us, what is your question, Ellen? I do not think I saw the question in your Venmo. I'm just wondering if I should put transits on your chart. So please let me know. Okay, what does the next couple of months look like for me? Ellen is asking. Okay. So I'm gonna look, I think I'm gonna do a little bit of a context for myself. So let's do this. Okay. So does this look correct? Aries sun, Cancer moon, Leo rising. I have seen your chart before. It looks familiar. Okay, I'm gonna turn the light here for a second because it's starting to get dark. Just give me a minute. Okay, 1 second. Okay. You're saying, yes, I've read for you for a few times. That sounds correct. A very familiar chart. Okay, so what the next couple of months have in store? Here we are in May. Jupiter is trining your Mercury. Oh, Jupiter is trining your Mercury, and Jupiter is sextiling your midheaven from the 12th house. Saturn is trining your Mars. There's a lot of quite positive aspects coming up for you, and yeah, pretty much there's really nothing challenging, and I'm looking all the way into July at this point. A lot of sort of supportive, positive. Let me just sort of get the lay of the land real quick. So you were born in 69, and you just turned 57, correct? 57. So 60 is the first house, 59, 58, 57. So 57 is the year of career. There's a lot of focus on, okay, you're saying yes, correct. So 57 is connected to career. The ruler is Venus in the ninth. So there may be some professional developments that involve education, travel, publishing your work, learning new things, teaching. How has this year been? Have you noticed any professional matters already? Do you remember what 45 was like? Are there any themes in that regard? So that also makes Venus your time lord for the year, because your 10th house is ruled by Venus. So it's interesting to look at what Venus is doing, what Venus is aspecting, what's kind of going on with her. Okay, so Jupiter is wrapping up its year-long transit through your 12th house, which could have been a year of introspection, getting in touch with yourself, maybe letting go of some self-defeating tendencies, outdated beliefs, anything that didn't serve you. Jupiter is trining your Mercury, which is the ruler of your second house of money, and your 11th house of friendships. And so there could be a suggestion here that maybe you're opening yourself up to some kind of an investment into a friendship or a dream. Maybe you're considering investing into something that can benefit you in the future. Maybe you're getting some kind of returns. Maybe there's a sense of being valued in terms of your relationships. I think Jupiter can also have a healing effect when it trines your Mercury, as in like helping you have important conversations. This is happening today, by the way. So it could even be a sign that, looking into astrology or making decisions, there is some kind of opportunity for like growth that is presented to you. Jupiter has also sextiled your midheaven and is currently sextiling it. So again, feels like professional growth. Saturn is trining your Mars. Mars is the ruler of home, family, property, and the ninth house of education. So I think this is also interesting because Saturn is in your ninth house, and it's your second Saturn return. So I think there's like a lot of questions of what's next. And Saturn in a trine to Mars could be maybe now it's time to pick up old passions and try some things that feed your soul, feed your heart, make you feel like a child again. And they may involve education. They may involve learning about your passions, your interests, your hobbies. There's also a Uranus trine. And that's what I mean. There's like your chart is very active right now. There's a lot going on. Uranus again is in the house of community. Sun is about to go into the house of community. Trining your natal Uranus in the house of communication and siblings and business. What's going on, Ellen? Tell me. Like, I feel like there's a lot of things that are highlighted in your chart. Are there any new passions you're considering? Are you looking into writing or studying or teaching? Is there some type of like new people coming into your life? Because I can see all of that. I can even see some kind of you're saying I'm looking to move on a golf course. Does it mean you're looking to purchase a golf course? Or you're going to live on a golf course? Is that possible? What does that mean? I need more clarity. I'm not sure. I know you play golf a lot, right? So maybe there is some of that. live on a golf course. It's possible. You can live on a golf course. I've never heard of that. Live and learn. So yeah, it's sort of like, definitely in terms of investments, in terms of even Jupiter in the 12th being like wanting some type of like retreat, escape. Uranus and Mercury, and like Uranus specifically in the 11th house, maybe, Uranus in the 11th, it's a 7-year long transit, but it can make you an odd one out in the group, or it can make you attracted to odd characters. You're saying I'm a golfer and the house is on the golf course. That's pretty exciting, and it's very unique, I think, in a lot of ways, at least in my opinion. I don't know anything about that, but if we're thinking of Jupiter ruling your 8th house of investments, and Jupiter by transit trining Mercury in the house of investments, I think that could definitely be a good time for that. In June, watch out for sort of as Jupiter begins to square your Saturn and Venus around June 8th and 9th. You want to be careful that you're not overdoing it in terms of your social engagements. There may be this sort of sense that you're going, you're going really far in trying to accomplish a lot of things. So again, Jupiter rules the house of investments, Jupiter rules the house of pleasure. And then Venus rules the house of career and the house of siblings, neighbors, business community. So there may be some kind of sense that pleasure and investments feel somewhat at odds with maybe what your bosses are expecting of you, or career demands, or even sibling demands. So there may be some type of friction. And it's a shorter, it's like, so it's exact on June 8th and 9th. And it could be positive again, because I think maybe you are following a dream and you're reaching some type of exciting goal. But what this reads as, it feels like trying to do too many things. It feels like trying to accomplish too many things at once. And then you're juggling a bunch of balls in the air, and maybe something falls down and it ends up being frustrating. And then, of course, on June 30, Jupiter is going to go into your first house, and it's a time of big personal reinvention, personal growth. South Node is going to enter your first house in July. And so you will be both growing, but growing through letting go of worrying about the expectations of others. And you have a lot of Aries in your chart, so you're probably quite independent and quite self-aware already. But I think South Node in the first, especially being a Leo rising, like Leo risings always sort of step up in this position of like an entertainer, storyteller, somebody that makes sure other people are laughing or smiling. And so there will be a bit of a sense of like having to examine what is truthful to you with Jupiter, right? Like how you want to grow, how you want to expand, what you want to pursue in life, and what people might think. So some kind of shedding of old images is likely. We've had this in 2008, 2009. So you can think back on what was going on in terms of identity and relationships back in 2008, 2009. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions to this. Otherwise, Jessica, I think you were here. Jessica, did you send me your information? I think I see it. So yeah, Ellen, let me know if there is any sort of follow-up questions you have to this. Otherwise, I will look up Jessica's chart. And Jessica, let me know if it's okay to share it, or if you'd like your information to be private. You're welcome, Ellen. Gogo Pogo is asking, how has the South Node transit in my 12th house been? You're asking, how has the South Node transit in the 12th house been for you? Thank you for asking me a personal question. It's been very much about letting things go. I moved with my fiance, so I let go of my single girl apartment. Very sad, but new beginnings, very exciting at the same time. But I've lived there for like almost 10 years. Very much when North Node was in my 12th house, I moved there, so it was like the end of a nodal cycle. So a lot of letting things go, a lot of shedding, in terms of like even clothes and things I own. There's a lot of focus on letting things go. Okay, so Jessica says I can share, and let me just check your question. You're saying, I want to know more about what's happening in regards to relationships. Okay, it's a relationship live today. You're saying, I'm starting to date someone I feel spiritually attracted to. That is exciting. Okay, so Jessica, I have Leo sun, Taurus moon, Sagittarius rising. Is that correct? Okay, you're saying yes, it is correct. So let me see. So you were born in 88. That makes you 37. So 36, 37. Second house year ruled by Saturn in the first house. That's like an interesting year for money, identity, self. The ruler of your chart is Jupiter in the 7th. Uranus just went into your 7th house. That is big. That is unusual and rare and different. The ruler of the 7th house is Mercury in the 9th. So that, I think, even your Jupiter being in the 7th, I think suggests that you're drawn to people who can teach you things. The ruler in the 9th, similar things, someone who can teach you, someone who can inspire you, someone foreign, someone who speaks a different language, somebody who's open-minded and interested in travel in different cultures, somebody you meet while traveling, or somebody you travel with, somebody you even move with potentially. Venus here, it's interesting, you have Venus-Uranus opposition, Venus-Saturn opposition. Can suggest romantic delays, right? Can also suggest that you are likely to be someone who maybe likes a relationship that is long distance, or you're maybe more open to a different kind of relationship. There's something, Venus Uranus opposition is pretty exact in your chart. And so sometimes it can also be a sign of like sudden infatuations. At times it could be a sign of sudden endings. Happy Venus return, by the way. Uranus in the 7th is a big deal. It's a huge deal. It's a once in a lifetime transit of Uranus going through your 7th house. What was happening in your love life when we had a preview of this last year between July 7th, November 7th? You're saying yes, relationships are a theme. For sure. Yeah, the chart ruler in the 7th house, it's like there is a lot of focus on relationships. I think Jupiter and Venus are two of the most positive planets to have in the 7th house. It's very much Jupiter will bring you people that at very least will teach you something. And Jupiter also has the power to protect you from the more difficult experiences that can otherwise happen. It's sort of this, your ex, you broke up with your ex between July 7th, November 7th. That's interesting. So Uranus can be clearing space for someone new and for something better. And so there was a preview between July 7th. Yeah, July 7th last year was when Uranus entered Gemini. So the first ingress, the first teaser trailer of the story, of the movie. And so between July 7th, November 7th, it was like a preview, and it could have, Uranus enlightens, Uranus revolutionizes, Uranus frees. So it came into your seventh house, and like Prometheus, revolutionary energy, it has the power to reveal what's not working, and it has the power to create breakdowns and create breakthroughs. So, oh, that's funny. You're saying it happened exactly on the day Uranus entered Gemini. That's can't make it up. So Uranus entered your seventh house, and you broke up with your ex. Was it a long time coming? Was it sudden? Was it maybe both? Like, how long were you together? I have a million questions. So yeah, so Uranus will liberate you from something that doesn't serve you, something that doesn't work for you. And then it left on November 7th. It went out of your seventh house, and then it just came back again in late April to stay for about 7 years, to continue opening up your perspective. It can bring new relationship. It can bring like there could be something, you're seeking something different. You're seeking a relationship that's freeing. You're seeking a relationship that's eye-opening. And right now we're very much with, like, Uranus is there for 7 years. Mercury is there for a couple weeks. The sun is about to enter Gemini. There's going to be a lot of focus on relationships, and quite a decent time to start a relationship, I think. Saturn is in your fifth house. That's sort of interesting because Saturn in the fifth it can also, I think, encourage you to get really serious about love and relationships and who you're attracting. Saturn comes into your fifth house, and you're like, well, let me think about relationships differently. Let me focus on, like, what am I attracting? What am I doing? How am I approaching things? You're saying it was not working 3.5 years. You have a child together, and you're saying they broke up with me, but yeah, it's for the best. Sorry to hear that. If it was a difficult experience, I'm sorry to hear that. And obviously having a child makes things more complicated. But you're saying it's for the best, and I'm glad to hear that you're looking at it as a Sagittarius rising who's being optimistic about it, or generally, hopeful in life. That's the beauty of being Sagittarius, having Sagittarius placements. And not just that, right? Like, you don't have to have Sagittarius placements to be optimistic. But yeah, Uranus. So Uranus here is a big deal. There's a new moon in Gemini that's coming up in June that is also very potent for new beginnings and relationships. Saturn in the fifth is interesting because Saturn in the fifth, as mentioned, can make you really serious about love. It can intensify burdens and responsibilities to children. It can also suggest that, yes, maybe Uranus in your seventh house is bringing a new relationship and there's new beginnings there, but Saturn in the fifth is like, how is it affecting your child, right? How are you managing the situation with your ex? It's sort of like new beginnings, but read the fine print and sign a contract and make sure that you have a clear system in terms of the child in place. It can also sometimes bring up sort of more, it can bring up more focus around children and sex and sort of questioning pleasure and what is pleasurable and things along that line. But I think it's a pretty exciting time for relationships, especially Uranus will like flip the script. If you've always dated people of one kind, Uranus will be like, how about these completely different people? If you've always dated people who are from your hometown, Uranus is like, let's date someone who's not from our hometown. If you've been single for a long time, Uranus will bring you a stable relationship and a marriage all of a sudden. If you've been in a stable relationship, Uranus will bring you a desire to date around and maybe be more free and not attached. It's all about freedom, very much. So whatever makes you feel free, whatever makes you feel excited, Uranus will deliver. So I hope this helps. I hope this answers your question of love and relationships. It's definitely an interesting time. So let me see. I have Giselle and Lauren. So Giselle and Lauren, let me know your time, time, place, date of birth, your questions. And you're saying this guy is Ukrainian. Look at that. So international, here we go. Okay, so Giselle and Lauren. I don't know if you are ladies still here. If you are, you're on my list. Speak up. And if you are, if you're on the list, but if you're later on the list, if you are, well, I guess all I'm trying to say is like make sure that you are refreshing the page so you're watching live. So Giselle, Lauren, go pogo with a lot of questions. How is Saturn transit in your 7th going for you so far? It's Saturn. It feels very much like Saturn. It feels like both about commitment and both about realizations and seriousness and pressure tests to a relationship 100%. Thank you for personal questions. What is your rising sign, Gogo Pogo? How is Saturn treating you? What house is it transiting? Okay, Lauren, there you are. Thank you for your information. I assume it's okay to share your chart, Lauren. Also, let me know your question. Cancer rising. So Saturn is in your 10th house of career, status, reputation, public life, authority figures. How has that been? I appreciate, Lauren, that you adjusted the date for me. Definitely confused me for a second there. I was like, how is it 25 and then 09? You're saying shitty so far. Yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough. Saturn in Aries has been a thing. Even though I have Saturn in Sagittarius, and so technically it's going to trine my Saturn, but as of right now, it's like for us cardinal rising signs, Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, and Libra, I think it's a thing. Oh, you're saying your North Node is also in Aries, so soon it will hit it. Are we the same? Are we the same year? Are you also 86, 87? Okay, Lauren, you're saying all relationships. Could you clarify that? Are we looking at romantic relationships or literally all relationships? I mean, if you can clarify it, I would appreciate it, but oh, you're saying 86, Tiger. Okay, so same North Node. Same North Node. So your North Node would be like later in Aries, right? Because mine is at the very 2 degrees. So Saturn already hit my North Node, but Neptune is hanging out nearby. Okay, Lauren. Gogo Pogo, you're a tiger and I'm a rabbit. You're raw. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to run away. Okay, Lauren, I got Libra, Sun, Capricorn, Moon, Taurus rising. Is that correct? And you said it's okay to share, so let me share. Maybe I'll just do the transit chart over it again. Gogo Pogo says, yeah, I did a lot of Libra in our past lives. Indeed. It's hard to shake off, right? All the Libra. Okay. So Lauren wants to know about relationships, but specifically family and romance. So let us think what is going on. So you are a Taurus rising, ruled by Venus and Virgo in the 5th house. Your 7th house of romantic relationships is ruled by Mars and Sagittarius in the 8th. Your house of home and family is ruled by the Sun in Libra in the 6th. So what is happening by transit right now? Saturn, you're going through your Saturn opposition. Neptune is opposing your Sun. So that could be tricky, right? The Sun in Libra, the Sun is in its fall in Libra, and it rules your 4th house of home and family, which generally can suggest that there may be certain difficulty in terms of, you know, parents, family members who had like fallen beliefs, or some people who maybe like I don't know, it can suggest that there's maybe been some like home and family in general could present certain challenges. A lot, of course, depends on other things in your chart, but you have the Sun, you know, Sun in Libra. The Sun is in its fall in Libra. Your Moon is in Capricorn. Moon is in her detriment in Capricorn. So Sun and Moon planets, both mother and father in your chart, look like yeah, I don't know, it could be like too dogmatic, too sort of focused on telling you like you know, think about others, too sort of focused on outward achievement and things like that. And you're saying yes, yep, nightmare. Sorry to hear that. And so having the Sun ruling the 4th house of home and family in that place is tricky. And then when you have Saturn come into the mix and oppose the Sun, you have Neptune oppose the Sun, there could be some confusion, there could be some obstacles, responsibilities. Maybe Saturn in the 12th can put you in a position of even like taking care of someone, or being a caretaker, or having to be put in a position where like you have to move, or it can just bring like a lot of like, you know, 12th house is being far, being alone, and so Saturn comes here and it like intensifies a lot of things. So has there been anything around like, I don't know, family members getting older, needing to take care of people, needing to move somewhere? If you're looking for astrological help, I would really recommend the Sun in Leo, Sunlight in a Jar candle for home and family matters, because that's the Sun in your 4th house. And it's the Sun in Leo, so I captured it during Leo season, and it can boost family matters, real estate, and things like that. You're saying, yeah, me for a change. Okay, that's good. That could be a sign that, you know, Saturn opposite all of your Libra planets is actually encouraging you to balance the Libra, to balance the people pleasing and the taking care of others with taking care of you. But simultaneously, it's forming these difficult aspects with your Sun and your Moon. So it's like maybe the choices you're making are not making your parents happy or your family happy. You're saying, I'm just desperate to get away from my family. Yeah. Uranus just went into your 2nd house. There may also be a sign that your values are very different from what people expect of you. You're going through your Uranus opposition. So there may be the sense that others see it as you're having like a midlife crisis and you're making these decisions that others are looking at and being like, what is she doing? What does it mean? You know, where all of this came from? Hi, Pluto Babe 86. So it's like a tricky period. It's definitely like yeah, Uranus opposition is definitely an interesting like transformational period. Oh, you're saying your father has passed. When did that happen? Pluto Babe says, oh, I know I missed an opportunity for a reading. Let me see. Is Giselle here? Because I have Giselle on my list, but if she's not here, Pluto Babe 86, you can potentially jump in. Lauren says they think so, but no, I'm seeing the truth. Oh, and he passed away when you were 36. So you are 37 now, and he passed away when you were 36. So first house year. Oh, wait, what? Oh, you're 43, right? 82. What am I thinking about? So 43 is the eighth house year, and it's ruled by Jupiter in the seventh house of relationships. Yeah. Um, so family matters. I think Saturn Neptune, while it squares the sun and the moon, it could suggest that your desire to get away, your desire to focus on spirituality, your desire to retreat can be emotionally taxing or can be tricky for family members to accept, because the sun rules family, the moon rules siblings, neighbors, also rules the mother, so there may be some kind of friction with family right now. But you're born with a north node in Cancer, and there is I think there is an invitation with the north node in Cancer to tend to yourself, to nurture yourself, because with the moon in Capricorn, you have learned how to be responsible really early on. You have learned how to take care of things. You maybe have learned a certain dose of Saturnine attitudes, right? Of like seeing things, like, I don't know, like seeing the negatives before the positives, thinking about taking care of everything, being prepared for the worst outcome. So with the Cancer North Node, you're kind of learning how to redirect that energy to tending to your feelings, still being, it's still ruled by your moon in Capricorn, so it's still about being like diligent and responsible, but I think in regards to yourself and also connecting with your feelings. Lauren says, Capricorn moon, your mom is a Cancer. So was your mom like a workaholic, or like was she very much a professional? Did she encourage you to be self-reliant and independent? Was she sort of colder emotionally? Relationship sector, you've got Mars ruling it in the eighth, conjunct Uranus. So I think you're seeking people who can be with you through the ups and downs. Pluto Babe 86, I think I can take you, because Giselle is not jumping on. So you can, if you'd like, you can be the last person, also the next person to go after I do Lauren's reading. So if I feel like I've done a reading for you before, but you know the drill. Suggested amount is 35. There's a link in the description. So if you'd like to get on the list, you can do that. Lauren says no, is smothering then neglecting type. But in any case, the mother like smothering, neglecting. Yeah, that's interesting. In any case, you have learned how to be responsible, right? Because there was maybe an inconsistency and maybe like a need to be a grown up. Because if you have a parent that's smothering and then neglecting, that's a tough lesson to learn when you're younger, I think. But so romantically, having Jupiter in the seventh is really nice. You do have Venus in Virgo. I have a candle that I would recommend for this, and that would be, I always have a candle, that would be Venus in Taurus too. I still have a couple of those, or Venus in Libra, because you're a Libra sun, that could be really helpful. I have Venus in Virgo, and I use Venus candles all the time. I have a ritual to work with Venus because she's in her full in Virgo, and Venus in her full might suggest that you can be picky, but then once you choose someone, you may end up with people like, there may be, Venus in Virgo is similar to Venus in Pisces in a way of like choosing people that need saving, choosing people that become your projects that you need to perfect. And so working with Venus, giving yourself self-love, being encouraging of yourself, believing in yourself can be really helpful. And candles are created with empowered Venus that I capture, which also carries that energy. I also have oils that you can apply to your wrists and things like that. And so those could be like magical talismans that can improve your romantic life. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So, okay. So you're saying, Lauren is saying never done a thing wrong according to her, as in like your mom doesn't take responsibility. Yeah, that happens often. And then you're saying you're in a relationship with a Taurus male and I'm happy with him, really happy. That's amazing. So because you mentioned love, I think you mentioned family and love. So I'm glad that love is going well. I think Jupiter in the 7th house generally can be quite helpful for relationships. So I hope this helps. I think, yeah, keep trying to focus on yourself, keep sort of tapping into this energy. Sorry, Pluto Babe says you're saying you haven't yet. Okay, I'll check out the description. The readings will be aired on the live, right? I'm really wanting to know how maybe Uranus will affect my 8th. Yeah, in the description, you can see the information. Basically, I ask for a donation. Suggested amount is 35 to get on the list. The list is closed, but I can take one more person as the last sort of step because I have Giselle on the list, but I don't know where she went. So I can take one more person. But to get on the list, I ask for a donation. Then I need your date, time, place of birth, and your question. Yeah, Lauren, let me know if you have any follow-up questions, but that is kind of what I'm seeing at this point, I think. I'm glad that things are working out well with your relationships. Good that Jupiter is doing its thing and helping you out. And family can be tricky. I think it's tricky for a lot of people. So maybe your North Node in Cancer is all about nurturing yourself and connecting with yourself. Okay, so Pluto Babe, let me know if you are getting on the list. I can wait. Otherwise, I will wrap up because the list is officially closed, but I can take one more person. Your question, Lauren, is saying, just will I get away? I think it's up to you. The last time Saturn was in your 12th house would have been 96, 97, 98, and really early 99. Did you move around that time? Because if you have moved around that time, Saturn in the 12th could be really good for moving right now as well. Thank you, Lauren, for a gold coin. I like shiny things. Shiny. Ooh. Okay, so I'm just waiting to hear if Giselle is here and if Pluto Babe is interested in getting a reading. Otherwise, we are wrapping up. So just let me know. So Lauren, you're saying yes. Does it mean you moved back in 96, 97, 98? What is your Taurus partner's moon and rising? Okay, so let me see. But I would definitely, Lauren, I would definitely recommend, like, if you wanted to work on these more difficult placements, there is rituals that you can perform that bring attention to the energy of this planet. And if you wanted, you can book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com and we can discuss all of this and I can offer some suggestions. Otherwise, I would very much recommend the Sunlight and Injara candle for you because that the sun in Leo is in its home sign. The sun rules your 4th house of home and family. It's in its fall in your natal chart. So using some of that magical, confident, I am my own priority energy could go the long way. Okay, so I don't know if Pluto Babe is coming back. So let us see. And Lauren, you're saying yes, you moved in 2000. So I guess 96, 97, 98 was all about preparation for moving or thinking about moving. Pluto Babe says, it's okay, I'll sit this one out, having issues with my PayPal. Just FYI, I don't usually go by Anna. Anna is a different name in Russia, and I go by Anastasia. So just putting it out there. Okay, no worries. So there is going to be another live on Monday. I'm doing these regularly on Monday, so join me if you'd like another reading, or if you haven't gotten one today and wanted to get one. I will be here, and I will probably be here on Wednesday morning as well, so you can join me for one of my horoscope lives. Thank you everyone who has gotten readings today, who has asked me questions, participated in any other way. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.